Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report Boilermaker fans for a special edition of the Purdue Report with Jake Dunn. Jake and I are joined by special guest Michelle Garmon to talk a little Purdue-Ohio State football. Jake, welcome back, and this is I guess it's a chance to knock off the number one team in the country, right?
Yeah, it's a David versus Goliath situation here. First time since 1989.
Need more slingshots.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound callous, but I noticed that there's been a lot of revisiting Purdue's upset with Tyler Trent there that night and everything, and I think trying to bring that back for inspiration, but I don't see that happening. First of all, Purdue doesn't have the same talent this year that that team under Jeff Brom had. And I think Ohio State's may be just a little bit more talented than their team was that year.
Jake, they got to take some solace from last week's performance, right?
I would think so, but I think Michelle put it pretty well there. Poor Purdue.
I want to say that Purdue played really well last week. They got some breaks and they took advantage of it. When you only lose by 5 in the Big House, even against an average Michigan team, that's a good performance from a 2-win team. There are some things to hang your hat on there. But Ohio State is just completely different. They are that defense. If Purdue scores, it's a win, right, Jake?
Yeah. Ohio State gives up points a game. So yeah, if this Purdue offense can score, I would say that's a win in my book.
I think the thing is, or that performance against Michigan looks good last week, but Michigan's offense is not even half as good as Ohio State's offense.
I thought Michigan looked pretty underwhelming offensively, mainly Bryce Underwood.
They are underwhelming. Their defense is quite good.
He's looked like a freshman a lot, and the way they found success is because of their defense. But when their defenses had to be on the field a lot, Michigan struggled a little bit. Yeah. That's not the case with Ohio State. Ohio State's defense gets the offense back in. The offense the defense rest.
Jake, you talked about Indiana, and you talk about Texas A&M and Alabama and Notre Dame. But right now, I would probably take Ohio State against the field. I think they're that good.
Definitely the most complete team Purdue has played, all year. And I think it's hard to put anybody over them for sure.
Well, they're the defending national champions, and that's what I've said all along.
I think they're better this year than they were last year. I really do.
Right. So is Indiana, and so is A&M. But what I'm saying is they're the defending national champions. So until somebody knocks them off, they're the best team, and they're it. That's my opinion.
And I think talent-wise, I think skill-wise, that defense is the best unit in the country. The Julian saying, you talk about underwhelmed. I think people are overrating him quite a bit because I could throw passes to those receivers and they'd catch it. That's how good those receivers are, Jake.
And really, about it, Ohio State's, they haven't had, other than Washington, they haven't really faced the teeth of, because they got Penn State after the fire, and Penn State's a little.
I don't care. I've seen them play.
But I'm just saying, I do feel sorry for Purdue. Ohio State this week. Then who do they play next week? Because I think they and IU, Washington, then they both have, they're on bye with IU, and then they have IU at the end of the year for what's supposed to be their final home game. But I don't know, Jake. I've been hearing from some Purdue people that really expect over 50% of Ross State Stadium to be red on Black Friday.
I have a hard time believing it'd be 50%, but it'd probably be pretty close to that if I had to guess. So really gonna need the Purdue faithful to turn out and make sure that doesn't happen. This IU team just insanely good. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it was close to that.
Hey Jake, what makes this Ohio State team so good?
I think the better question is what doesn't make them good, because their offense is just so complete. quarterback is insane. I know we talked about the receivers that they have. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, both just uncoverable, really, especially with the pieces Purdue has in their secondary. Those two combined for 16 touchdowns total and 180 yards a game in the air. So two just weapons that Purdue can't cover. They also have Max Clare, the former Purdue Boilermaker on their team, and he just makes this receiving unit just really deep. Purdue's defense, as we know, isn't great. They're 15th in the Big Ten against the run. Ohio State's got a pretty decent, they're not elite, but they're pretty solid, backfield. And yeah, they're just way too good, way too good for this Purdue team.
If you were going to pick an area of the game that gives you hope, is there anything?
Maybe special teams. That's really kind of been the consistent bright spot for Purdue.
That's not
Jack
good.
McAllister has had one poor punt all year. It was against Michigan.
Jake, you're not beating anybody with your special teams. What's the hope here? Are we going to be able to pass against Ohio State?
Maybe.
That's the best.
Maybe, I don't know.
In college football, you're not going to be able to run against them. Can they stop their run? Is Ohio State bad at running the ball?
They're 10th in the Big Ten in terms of yards per game.
Purdue fans, we're so sorry about this. There is just nothing. Last week, we actually talked about Michigan. There's a chance to be kind of competitive with them because their offense stinks. I'm sorry, Purdue fans. We're going to be talking a lot of basketball coming up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But this is as big a mismatch as you could possibly find in college football between two Power 4 schools.
Devin Mockabee was such a great story for Purdue and his success. How heartbreaking is it to see his college career ended short because of injury? Tremendous story. I had a lot of respect for Mockabee, and he was actually someone who I enjoyed watching play for Purdue.
Yeah, really hate to see him go out like that. We mentioned this in the podcast the other day, but he's 13 yards away from 3,000 career rushing yards. He's either fourth now or that would have put him in fourth all time for Purdue rushing yards. And towards the end of the season here, it just didn't really seem like Purdue was utilizing him super well or super often in the offense. But I mean, he had multiple chances to leave for greener pastures in terms of money and maybe going to a better team. But he decided to stick with Purdue because Purdue chose him, and he really values his education. He's going to get his mechanical engineering degree here at the end of the year. And just a Purdue Boilermaker through and through.
So, Jake, with the gauntlet that Purdue has to end the season on, do you think there will be pressure from fans on Barry Odom if Purdue only ends up with 2 wins?
I know I don't feel that way, Jake.
Yeah.
About today's college football.
Yes,
That's what I'm.
Yes, we are. But I don't feel that way. I want to give him some time. I don't think it's that bad.
I think Greg and I are pretty reasonable people, but there are some unreasonable people out there that are going to want him fired over 1 year. I think if you watch the games and if you remember back to last season, you can tell this team's better, than the team that was on the field last year. So there has been an improvement, even if the record doesn't show. But ultimately, it is wins and losses that count. From some fans, there may be a little pressure, but I think at the very minimum, he gets 2 years. I think it will be better next year. Maybe not by much, but it certainly will be better next year. And I've got faith in Coach Odom that once we get to year 3 and beyond, I think that's when you'll see Purdue start to really compete with the rest of the conference.
The only tough thing about that is with Cignetti's extension and what he's done and how he's developed players, and recruits see that. used to be Purdue is going to win 85 to 90% of the top recruits in Indiana in this area. And I think they're a backseat behind IU. I think the key for Odom will be, can he navigate the portal?
Can he bring in the talent to compete, and can he develop it?
Yeah, I think there are some bright spots on the team. I think keeping those bright spots will probably be a challenge. They may not have a ton of suitors, knocking at their door, but I think guys like Michael Jackson, Nitro Tuggle, some of the offensive linemen that have kind of shined so far this year. It's going to be hard. I think they will have some suitors. It's going to be interesting to see how Purdue, kind of plays their cards if they want to spend more money to retain guys, or spend more money to go and fill some of those holes, that are on this team and will be popping up as people enter the portal here. I think this is absolutely going to be key, finding and developing, kind of hidden gems in the high school ranks too, will be key, obviously. And then to the point we just made, retaining them after you develop them and make them into a good player will be very important. So Purdue doesn't have a Mark Cuban. We don't have any big NIL donors like that are willing to. He can only do so much. I think for this Purdue team. So be interesting to see how it goes.
Jake and I will be back on Sunday morning to talk about the Purdue-Ohio State football game, but I think we'll do a double podcast and talk about the Purdue-Oakland basketball game as well. And we'll be back next Wednesday with a Purdue report and probably talk about a little of both.
I was going to say, your Purdue-Oakland basketball reaction will probably be a more fun and
a little more joyous.
Yeah.
As we said, David versus Goliath here. David can win. Will he win on Saturday? Probably not. That's about as simple as you can put it.
Gonna need more slingshots.
Yeah, a lot more slingshots.
Jake, thank you so much for your time, and I hate being that pessimistic, but
might need a couple bazookas on Saturday instead of slingshots.
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.